Alright friends, today we're going to have a little run through variability, just to give you a better idea of what it looks like in SPSS. I think the concept of variability is pretty straightforward, and that how a data set differs from other data sets and how the points within it are distributed or clustered. So let me just kind of give you a run through and a visual of how you can look at this. I prefer to go through the analyze route. You can go through graphs, but I don't think it's very cumbersome, and I think SPSS. So what I prefer to do is go to analyze, descriptive statistics, and then frequencies. And let's do this one. Let's get something in there. Let's see, where do we want to be with this? Something that might have some clustering. Let's do horsepower. Let's see if we get some good clustering in that. So we throw it on there. Statistics in this case, I've just leave mean mode checked like so, and continue. And then what you want to do here for variability is if you hit charts, in this case I've actually clicked histogram and then show a normal curve. Yours usually will be here, right? With the default setting like this. What I've done is I've clicked on histograms and then click this little checkbox here so it shows me a normal curve. So it'll show not only the curve that I built, but also how this compares to a normal curve. If I hit continue and I hit OK, it gives me the visual or the quantitative information first. So there's the mean, median, and mode. And notice all three are different points on the data set. If we scroll down, I've got a frequency distribution to show me kind of where all the cars fall with regard to horsepower. Obviously, it's quite varied. You see the distribution there. And if we look here, here is the frequency table, the histogram. What you'll notice is this black solid line is going to be a normal distribution, right? And if you see how ours compares in this case, it doesn't really fit normalcy very much at all. You'll notice here there's not very good distribution on the bottom end, right? We see a bit of a spike earlier than should be, and then we also almost see what's referred to as bimodality. We have two data points that are pretty frequent or pretty commonly utilized here in this case. So I guess right here is going to be about 160, and then right here we're looking at right about the 200, 210 range like this. But essentially our histogram has two peaks with a trough in between. In reality, if there was a third, if this bar here actually surged up here above the other two, then it would follow a fairly normal histogram distribution. But as you can see on the curve on the backside, what we see down here is it drops like so, but then also has a second little boost at the end like this. So this doesn't really follow very good normalcy with regard to the distribution of the data points. What I will also like to point out here too is if we look at the very end on this, we have what's referred to as an outlier, excuse me. In this case, we have a car that is putting out a whole lot of horsepower. This looks like the 450 to 460 range way out here. Kind of a car guy, so I can tell you this is the Dodge Viper way out here. And what this does is actually will kind of essentially mess up our histogram to some degree. It actually will drag the mean upwards higher than it normally needs to be, because what this is doing is this is a higher score pulling the mean this direction. But you'll see how our histogram doesn't really follow a very normal curve. If I can, let me show you one more just to show a comparison. If we look at something like, once again, descriptives, frequencies, let's take out horsepower and let's do maybe sales in thousands and see if we see different kind of clustering for that. Once again, SPSS remembers what you did before, mean, median, mode in this case, and we'll also remember what you wanted to run, in this case a histogram with a normal curve. Okay, if I just hit OK, it keeps the data I've just run, but also provides me new data. So once again, we see mean, median, and mode vary a great deal in this case. So if we look at the distribution, even more of a broad distribution, we're going to see a really, really flat histogram in this case. Okay, because the two prices, yeah, see, here's what we're saying. It's actually clustered it into categories. We see a very large spike here, followed by a tapering off like this. So most cars are going to sell, in this case, probably in the, say 50,000 range, right? So they're not going to sell more than say 50,000 of a certain car in most cases. And actually, there, if you look at the mean and the standard deviation, that's kind of where we are. The mean is in the 50,000 range, right? So what we're seeing here is a serious, what's referred to as a positive skew. Almost all of the values are on the far left side with very few values up in this direction. So you'll get a few cars up here that are selling closer in the 300,000 range. Then this one here, this is a serious outlier. I want to say that's probably like a Ford F-150 or something like that. It's one of the better selling vehicles, maybe an Explorer or something like this. But if we notice, all these values kind of taper off like that, nowhere near a normal curve as it should be distributed. And then we once again have an outlier like the data set we just saw. So hopefully this provides you a better visual idea of what SPSS can do with regard to histograms and frequencies and what this means in terms of data distribution and the data set in general.